Hi, back again for another tale from Africa. This is a map of the world. Right here in the middle is the continent of Africa. The story we're going to hear today is from Kenya. It's actually a very old folk tale from the area of Africa called Kenya. The story today is called Bringing the Rain to Kapiti Plain. Very, very old folk tale from this particular culture. So let's take a listen to our story. Bringing the Rain to Kapiti Plain by Verna Ardemia. This is the great Kapiti Plain, all fresh and green from the African rains. A sea of grass for the ground birds to rest in, and patches of shade for wild creatures to rest in, with acacia trees for giraffes to browse on, and grass for the herdsmen to pasture their cows on. It's a rhyming book. But one year the rains were so very belated that all the big wild creatures migrated. They left. Then Kapat helped to end that terrible drought, and this story tells how that came about. This is the cloud, all heavy with rain, that shadowed the ground on Kapiti Plain. This is the grass, all brown and dead, that needed the rain from the cloud overhead. The big black cloud with all heavy with rain, that shadowed the ground on Kapiti Plain. These are the cows, all hungry and dry, who mooed for the rain to fall from the sky, to green up the grass, all brown and dead, that needed the rain from the cloud overhead. The big black cloud, all heavy with rain, that shadowed the ground on Kapiti Plain. This is Kipat, who watched his herd as he stood on one leg like the big stork bird. Kipat, whose cows were so hungry and dried, they mooed for the rain to fall from the sky, to green up the grass all brown and dead, that needed the rain from the cloud overhead, the big black cloud all heavy with rain, that shadowed the ground on Kapiti Plain. This is the eagle who dropped a feather that helped to change the weather. It fell near Kapat, who watched his herd as he stood on one leg like the big stork bird. Kapat, whose cows were hungry and dry, they mooed for rain to fall from the sky, to green up the grass all brown and dead. They needed the rain from the cloud overhead, the big black cloud all heavy with rain that shadowed the ground on Kapiti Plain. This is the arrow Kapat put together with slender sticks and an eagle feather. From the eagle who happened to drop a feather that helped to change the weather. It fell near Kapat, who watched his herd as he stood on one leg like the big stork bird. Kapat, whose cows were so hungry and dried, they mooed for the rain to fall from the sky, to green up the grass all brown and dead, that needed the rain from the cloud overhead, the big black cloud all heavy with rain that shadowed the ground on Kapiti Plain. This is the bow, so long and strong that strung with a string, a leather thong, a bow from the arrow Kapat put together with a slender stick and an eagle feather. From the eagle who happened to drop a feather that helped to change the weather. It fell near Kapat, who watched his herd. He stood on one leg, like the big stork bird. Kapat, whose cows were so hungry and dry, they mooed for the rain to fall from the sky, to green up the grass all brown and dead that needed the rain from the cloud overhead, the big black cloud, all heavy with rain that shadowed the ground on Kapiti Plain. And this was the shot that pierced the cloud and loosened the rain with thunder loud. A shot from the bow, so long and strong and strung with a string and a leather thong, and a bow from the arrow Kapat put together with a slender stick and an eagle feather from the eagle who happened to drop a feather that helped to change the weather. He shot an arrow up to the sky to open up that rain cloud so it would rain down on those dry lands. It fell near Kapat, who watched his herd as he stood on one leg like the big stork bird. Kapat, whose cows were so hungry and dry, they mooed for the rain to fall from the sky, to green up the grass all brown and dead that needed the rain from the cloud overhead, the big black cloud all heavy with rain that shadowed the ground on Kapiti Plain. Now look at it. So the grass grew green and the cattle fat. And Kapat's got a wife and a little Kapat. They needed that rain, greened up that grass and fattened those cows. They had something to eat. Whoever tends the cows now and shoots down the rain when the black clouds shadow on Kapiti Plain. So now Kapat's son does the same thing. He watches over the plains and the cows and takes care of them all. The end. So that is a very old folk tale from Kenya, which is in part of Africa. Now, the last story I'm going to read to you today is also from the continent of Africa. This story is also from the area Kenya. This story is called 14 Cows for America. I just absolutely love the illustrations in this book and kind of gives you an idea what it looks like over in Kenya, Africa. 14 Cows for America by Carmen Agra Dede. Beautiful, beautiful pictures. The remote village waits for a story to be told. News travels slowly to this tiny corner of Kenya. As Kamili nears his village, he watches a herd of bull giraffes cross an open grassland and he smiles. He has been away from his home for a very long time. And now he's back. A girl sitting under a guava tree sees him first and cries out to others. The children run to him with the speed and grace of cheetahs. He greets them with a gentle touch on the head, a warrior's blessing. He's come home. You see his clothes look a lot different. You'll see why in just a minute. The rest of the tribe soon surrounds Kamili. These are his people. These are the Maasai. Once they were feared warriors. Now they live peaceably as nomadic cattle herders. They treat their cows as kindly as they do their children. They sing to them, they give them names, they shelter their young ones in their homes. Without the herd, the tribe might starve. To the Maasai, the cow is life. Grandpa, hello, Camille hears again and again. Everyone wants to greet him. His eyes find his mother across the Inkang, the rings of huts with their roofs of sun-baked dung. She spreads her arms and calls to him. Welcome, my son, Camille sighs. He is finally home. This is sweeter and sadder because he cannot stay. He must return to the faraway country where he is learning to become a doctor. He thinks of New York then, and he remembers that day. A child asks if he's brought any stories, and Camille nods. He has brought him one story. It has burned a hole in his heart. But first he must speak with the elders. Later, in the tradition of the old Maasai, the rest of the tribe gathers under an acacia tree to hear the story. There is a terrible stillness in the air as the tale unfolds. With growing disbelief, men, women, and children listen. Buildings so tall that can't touch the sky, fires so hot they can melt iron, smoke, and dust so thick they can block out the sun. There the stories end. Great silence falls over the Maasai. Camille waits. He knows his people. They are fierce when provoked, but easily moved to kindness when they hear of suffering and injustice. I love these illustrations. At last his elder speaks. He is shaken, but above all he is sad. What can we do for these poor people? Nearby a cow lows, heads turned toward the herd. To the Maasai, Camille says, the cow is life. Turning to the elders, Camille offers his only cow, Incarus. He asks for their blessing. They give it gladly, but they want to offer something more. The tribe sends word to the United States Embassy of Nairobi. In response, the embassy sends a diplomat. His jeep jounces along the dusty, rugged roads. He is hot and tired. He thinks he's going to meet with Maasai elders. He cannot be more wrong. As the jeep nears the edge of the village, the man sits up. Clearly, this is no ordinary diplomatic visit. This is a ceremony. Hundreds of Maasai greet the American in full tribal splendor. At the sight of the brilliant blood-red tunics and spectacular beaded collars, he can only marvel. How beautiful. It is a day of a sacred ritual. Young warriors dance, leaping into the air like fish from a stream. Women sing songs, children fill their bellies with milk, and speeches are exchanged. And now it is time. Camille and his people gather on the sacred knoll far from the village. The only sound is the gentle chiming of cowbells. The elders chant a blessing of Ma, and the Maasai people of Kenya present to the man 14 cows for America. Because there is no nation so powerful it cannot be wounded, nor a people so small they cannot offer mighty comfort. The end. So, boys and girls, this was a story from Kenya. And it was actually, this happened right after September 11th. The people of this small tribe in Kenya gave a gift to the United States of 14 cows. Now, remember, to this particular tribe, cow was life. And in a beautiful ceremony, they gave 14 of their cows to the United States as a tribute to help them, and giving part of their life to them as a celebration, to help with the after the September 11 attacks. So it was their tradition uh, to they wanted to celebrate with our country as well. I think it is a beautiful story, and it is a beautiful reminder of what we do, different cultures coming together to help one another. And the illustrations are gorgeous, and I absolutely love both of these stories that come from the beautiful continent of Africa. I hope you enjoyed them, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks. Bye. Bye, Scott.